Fishing, slang, decoded. 10 must-know terms for every angler. The fishing world has its own secret language, part tradition, part survival code. If you've ever been baffled by phrases like set the float at 4, fish at 2, strike on the intercept, you're not alone. Seasoned anglers can talk about fish behavior, water conditions, and even life philosophy in just a few cryptic words. In this guide, we'll break down 10 essential fishing terms in plain English. From interpreting tiny tremors on your float to understanding the science of bait dispersion, you'll soon be chatting with fishing veterans like a pro. After all, understanding the lingo is the first step to filling your net. 1. Float tuning. Tuning your float is like setting up a sensitive motion detector. Its job is to ping when a fish nips. Beginners often make the mistake of using too much weight, which causes the float to sit rigidly like a wooden stake. The right approach? Clip your hook off, let it hang mid-water, and trim your split shot until the top of the float just kisses the surface. This is called leveling the water. Then, with bait on, the float should reveal just a color marks known as set at 4, fish at 2. That setup means your bait is lightly touching the bottom, and any fish that bites will pull the float clearly down. Match your float's weight capacity with your rod type. For example, a 12-foot light rod for panfish pairs, well with a 1.2-gram float delivering ultra-sensitivity like a hair trigger trap. 2. Chumming. Chumming isn't just chucking in some corn and praying. It's about creating an underwater aroma trail that guides fish to your hook. Start with light, fast-spreading ingredients like bran or rice flour, then layer in heavier bait like corn or pellets to hold fish longer. Pro tip: less is more. Toss no more than a ping-pong ball-sized scoop every 20 minutes. If you overfeed, fish may get full or spooked. Watch for tiny bubbles rising at your spot. This fish fizz means your diners have arrived. At that moment, stop chumming and stay laser-focused on your float. 3. Leader line. The leader is the stealthy link between your main line and hook. Its length affects how your bait moves. For panfish, a 12-inch looped leader lets the bait flutter like a falling leaf, triggering instinctive bites. For carp or catfish, go longer, 24 inches too. Keep the bait anchored and less suspicious. Always choose a leader 0.2 to 0.4 sizes thinner than your main line. This way, if you snag, only the leader snaps. 1 golden rule: if your leader coils or curls, replace it immediately. A bent leader makes your bait spin or drift unnaturally. Fish notice. 4. Finding bottom. Finding the bottom is a ritual. Every good float setup begins with tie on a heavy sinker, cast out, and adjust the float until it shows just one color mark when the weight hits the bottom. That gives you the depth. But the real secret is bottom testing. After finding depth, shorten the float by a few inches and recast with bait. If the float still settles at 2 marks, the bottom is likely flat. If your float suddenly rises or sinks erratically, you might be over mud, a slope, or underwater debris. One angler I knew blanked 3 days straight, turned out an old sock tangled his sinker. 5. Intercept bites. If your float dips before it even stands upright, congratulations, you've got an intercept bite. The fish hit the bait while it was still sinking. Switch to the flying lead technique. Slide the weight below the float's base, which slows the bait's fall. Fluff your bait up like cotton candy so it disperses in a cloud. When intercepts happen, fish are feeding mid. Time to fish higher off the bottom and switch to softer, more scatter-prone bait. 6. Perfect hook. A hook in the upper lip dead center is what pros call a perfect mouth strike, a sign your setup is on point. If you're hooking fish in the body or lower lip, your rig may be too sluggish. Try lowering the float 1 mark or switching to a smaller hook. Want a test? Use barbless hooks. If a fish stays on for 10 seconds after hook set, you're timing your strike just right. 7. Sliding lead, windy lake. Strong current. Time for sliding lead. Loosen the stopper bead above your weight so your main line can move freely through it. Use a sinker 1.5 times heavier than your float rating. With bait resting on the bottom and leader tension alone, lifting the float, you'll see fewer false alarms. If your float shifts or vanishes, chances are it's a serious fish, not the wind. 8. Spooking the spot. Ever notice the guy next to you catching nonstop while your rod sits silent after adding bait? You've spooked the spot. Overchumming overwhelms or alarms fish. Stop feeding immediately, scale down, smaller hook, thinner line, and fish the edge of your baited zone. Use single maggots or plain scentless dough. Some veterans even use mind games, loudly sighing "ooh-ha," no bites again, while secretly switching to live worms. 9. Fighting fish hooked up. Don't yank like you're hauling bricks. The art of landing a big one is in finesse. Small panfish, sure, lift them right out, but if it's a brute, angle your rod sideways, let the bend absorb the shock. The golden rule. When the fish runs, you yield. When it tires, you gain. In one pond, I watched a pro land an 18-pound grass carp with a paper-thin 0.6 liter. His trick: when the fish surged, he dipped his rod into the water using water resistance to tame the beast. 10. Bombing the spot. Snap off, splash, silence. If your float goes under, and suddenly the entire lake goes still, it SA bombed spot. Fish release alarm pheromones when startled. Your area becomes a no-go zone. Your options: move elsewhere, or cast far out with a backup rod. Some swear by tossing in a handful of pungent pellet splaying on fish psychology. Danger zones can mean leftover food, but the smartest anglers always pack two rods of one close range, one for deeper water. That way, it's the guy next to you dealing with the mess. Fishing is like watching a silent movie underwater. Every twitch of the float, every swirl of bait, tells a story. These terms aren't rules, they're keys to decoding the language of the lake. And when your net is empty, but you smile and say, "Today was just feeding practice," you're already a true master of the craft. About the creator: I'm a passionate angler and content creator who loves sharing tips, stories, and hard-earned lessons from the water. Follow me for more fishing hacks, float mysteries, and bait debates. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned because the next cast could change everything.